already know how to simplify basic radicals. So if I give you the square root of 24, square root of 24. Okay, so I'm looking for a perfect square that can divide nicely into 24. I want to break 24 up. So the closest perfect square I know to it is, well, 25. 25 is too big, right? So then I want to go down a little bit smaller. What's the next perfect square that's smaller than 25? Mylin? 16. Can 16 go into 24, guys? Yes or no? No, it can't. Okay, so then we go smaller. Next smallest one would be 9. Can 9 go into 24? No. Next one down is going to be a 4. Can a 4 go into 24? Yes. Again, like I said, having this list and knowing, all I did is I went down, okay, 25 is too big, 16 can't go into it, 9 can't go into it, but 4 can. 4 can go into 24. 4 is a factor of 24. I can break this up. 4 times what? Say it louder. Say it with confidence. 6. 4 times 6. So I can say this is a square root of 4 and square root of 6. I can multiply those two together to get 24. And the only reason I want to split it up is because I want to simplify it a little bit. It's almost like fractions, trying to simplify a fraction. You take something out. So here, I'm going to simplify that square root of 4. What's the square root of 4, guys? 2. So we have 2, and then square root of 6. Okay, so this is what we did last week on Friday. We took our irrational radical, split it apart into 2 factors, one of those factors being a perfect square and one of them not, and then simplifying the perfect square. What you're doing today is instead, or not just today, but instead of it just being square root of 24, it might be 7 square roots of 24. So now instead of it just being the radical, I have a coefficient in front of the radical. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at that coefficient, and I'm just going to move it down to the side for a second. I'm going to ignore it and just bring it down. What I want to focus on is I want to focus on the square root of 24 by doing what I always do, which is break it apart. Like we already did. We already noted in the previous problem that this is square root of 4 and square root of 6. And we already noted that I could simplify the square root of 4 into a 2, and that this square root of 6 would come down. Now, what do you think I'm going to do with that 7 that I just brought down? What do you think, Mylin? Multiply it. I'm just going to go ahead and multiply it to the new coefficient that I've created. I'm going to take that 7 that was my original coefficient, and I'm going to multiply it by the 2 that I just created. 7 times 2 is going to give me 14. So I now have 14 square roots of 6. And that would be my final answer here. Okay, let's take a look at another one. Square root of 45. Okay, originally, square root of 45, we would just be focusing on breaking it apart. So let's take a look at our perfect squares. Okay, so 36. 36 is the next smallest perfect square. Is 45 divisible by 36? No. Is 45 divisible by 25? No. Right? What about by 16? Can 45 be divided by 16? No, right? 16 times 2, that's going to give us 32. Okay, 16 times 3, that's going to give us 48. Okay, so we've now passed 45. So it's not divisible by 16. Can 45 be divided by 9? Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of yeses, a lot of shaking the heads, yes. So there's our perfect factor. 9 times what? 9 times 5. Okay, so we get 9 times 5 here. We're going to go ahead and break that apart into square root of 9 and square root of 5. Okay, square root of 9, that's the perfect square. We can go ahead and simplify that so it's no longer a square root. What is the square root of 9? 3. Okay, square root of 5 is just going to stay square root of 5. Okay, so that's the original. That's how we did it when we didn't have a coefficient in front. So now let's go ahead and take that problem, and I'm going to throw a coefficient in front of it. Let's say it's 6 square roots of 45. So instead of just a square root of 45, I want 6 square roots of 45. So again, I'm going to take that 6, that coefficient, and I'm just going to go ahead and drop it down, ignore it for just a little bit. And had this been a brand new problem, I would have gone, oh, hey, I know I can do square root of 9 and square root of 5. And that the square root of 9 is going to simplify to a 3, and then I get 3 square roots of 5. Okay, if I worked it out like normal. But now because I have that 6 in front of it, I now have to do what again, guys? Multiply. I have to multiply my old coefficient times my new coefficient that I just brought out. And 6 times 3 is going to give us 18. So we get 18 square roots of 5. Okay, I want you guys to go ahead and try 2 problems on your own. We'll have 4 square root of 75. And we'll have 11 square roots of 72. 4 square roots of 75 and 11 square roots of 72. Try those ones on your own. All right, who wants to go ahead and share with me what they got for problem number 5? Anybody besides Mylin? Mylin's always the one answering. Come on, guys. Okay, Trey. 20 square root of 3 is correct. Okay, so again, we've got a coefficient that's in the front. I'm going to go ahead and take that coefficient and I'm going to bring it on down. So I'm going to drag that 4 down a little bit and ignore it for the time being. 75, if I look through my perfect squares list, okay, 64 is less than 75, but it's not going to work. 49 is not going to work. 36 is not going to work. Oh, 25. 25 will work. 25 times what? Times 3. 25 times 3. So we have square root of 25 and square root of 3. Because 25 times 3 is 75. Square root of 25 is going to be a 5. So we have 5 square roots of 3. Now again, I'm going to take my old coefficient, the 4, and I'm going to multiply it by this new coefficient, the 5, and that's going to give me a 20. So I'm going to get 20 square root of 3, and there's my final answer. Okay, problem number 6. We have 11 square roots of 72. Go ahead, Mylin. 66 square root of 2. Very good. So again, we're going to take that 11, and we're going to drag it on down. 72, we're going to take a look through our list. Okay, so 64 is not going to work. 39 is not going to work. But 36 does. 36 times 2 will give us 72. So we can split this up into the square root of 36 and the square root of 2. Because 36 times 2 gives us 72. So now we just need to simplify. Square root of 36 is a 6. And then square root of 2 is just going to come right on down. And now we're going to multiply. We're going to take the old coefficient and multiply it by the new coefficient. And that becomes 66 square root of 2. Okay? You guys have an IXL or 6 IXL skills loaded on Google Classroom to complete.